What is going on, everybody? This is Exano here, and today I'm going to be taking you through the Four Corners Infinity live wallpaper. I'm just going to be doing a general tutorial, getting you guys familiar with the app and the settings available to you, and working with you and creating our first custom wallpaper. So let's just go into the settings here and see what options we have available to us. The first option up top here is to use a preset wallpaper. Now, by using a preset wallpaper, there's no entering a value and there's no creating any custom effects. We're simply going to select a preset, save, and we're ready to rock and roll. If you're feeling a little bit more creative, then if you go back into the settings and disable this, you can select a profile, and there's 1 out of 4 options available to you, and these are the save slots. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using profile 4. It really doesn't matter what you use. You can use any profile you would like. And I just have it set kind of default right now. There's nothing happening. Let me go back into here. And so we can see our first option here is to enable or disable our touch event. So if this is disabled, when you touch the screen, nothing is going to happen. Otherwise, you touch it, and you're going to get 1 of 4 effects. So for this tutorial, I've picked the worm. You guys can pick whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Experiment with it. And we have a maximum number of touch events. So if you set this to 1, you can only touch the screen 1 time until it fades completely, and then you'll be able to touch again. Otherwise, you can set up to 25. For higher end phones, you can handle a lot of touch events simultaneously, but for lower end phones, you might experience a little bit of frame rate lag if you do that, so I always keep it around 5. Going down a little bit further, we have the particle effect that we can use. There's a bunch of shapes here that you can choose from, starting with the smoky brush and ending with the square. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using the hollow circle. I recommend you guys stick with that for this one, but again, you can use whatever. Down here, we have our color schemes. The first being preset color combination list, where you can choose from 1 out of 5 preset color combination variables. If none of those are to your liking, you can come over here and we can use solid colors. So this is just a single color, there's no fade. And down here we have our custom color fade. So this is going to be a color fade from one color to another, like from red to blue, or from orange to blue, stuff like that. So for our first color, I've selected a pink color here, and for our second color, I'm going to select more of a bluish hue. Down here we have begin color fade and end color fade, and this is when it starts going from one color to the next, and when it finishes going from one color to the next. So we're going to say that it's going to start beginning to fade at around 2 seconds, and it's going to be completely finished at 5 seconds. So what that means is it'll go from pink to blue. It'll start that transition about 2 seconds in, and then 5 seconds in it'll be completely blue and it won't be pink anymore. Okay? Moving down, we have our basic values, which you can enable or disable. Starting with maximum particles. The maximum particles are how many particles are going to be displayed simultaneously. If you have a number like 20, you're going to create more of a pulse effect. Whereas if you have a number like 512, it'll be a constant stream of particles that is never going to stop. So for our case, we're going to go with 256, which is a nice in-between value. Okay? Now down here we have our starting size and our ending size. This is how big or small it's going to be when it begins life, and how big or small it'll be when it ends life. So if you want a bigger shape that starts fading into a smaller shape, then you would increase this value while decreasing this value. And if you want it to start small and get big, leave this number smaller and that number bigger. So for this example, we'll start it at 4 and we'll end it at 8. We also have our up and down and left and right acceleration, which control the acceleration on the up or down or left and right or Y and X axis. So for now, we're going to leave these values at 0 until we've enabled our advanced settings, as to avoid screwing with anything unnecessarily. Now down here, we have our advanced values, which are left and right minimum and maximum velocity, and our up and down minimum and maximum velocity. So I'll get into this in a little bit, but first I just want to show you guys what this does when we have everything set at 0. We'll go back here to our app, and as you can see, we just have the circles in the corner, and we can also touch, and we can see our circles, and they should do their color fade. There it goes into that blue. So now what we're going to want to do is create our velocity, or create our path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it go straight up and have no variance when it does so. So I'll choose a maximum up and down of 50, or minimum, I'm sorry, and a maximum of 50, or 51. Our left and right, on the other hand, will create a minimum of and a maximum, which is going to be a little bit higher, but just to show you guys the effect of what I'm talking about here, we'll go back to the app. And so now you can see everything is being handled simultaneously. There's very, very, very little discrepancy. The only discrepancy is by 1. But if we were to go back, and we were going to increase now our left and right, or decrease our left and right minimum to 0. So now it's going to pick a velocity for left and right between 0 and 31. And what you'll see is some of them are going straight up, and the others are going a little bit to the left or to the right. Okay? So now we have an effect kind of like this. So now we can go back into our settings, back into our basic settings, and we can start tweaking our acceleration values. So if we give our up and down a little bit of a negative value, what we'll see is it starts to speed up as it progresses through. Okay? And so this is useful for a whole slew of things. And if you keep decreasing this number, eventually you're going to start getting a full curve, like we saw in the default profile. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this back to 0, because what I'm concerned about is the left and right velocity, or acceleration, excuse me. So now we're left with an effect like that, and it's curving off to the right. So we get kind of a cool little flying circle effect there, everything curving off to the right with our touch effect there. And we can see that it ends and starts again as soon as 256 particles have been reached. So again, we could go back in and we could tweak this a little bit more, but you guys are starting to get the basic idea of it. I don't want to go too in depth, because part of the fun in this is discovering on your own what does what and how everything works together. So this is increasing a positive x value. So we can see now that instead of curving off to the side, it curves to the middle. And it's a little bit laggy on my phone right now because I'm recording this live through the phone. Unfortunately, I don't get a full 30 frames per second, so you guys aren't really able to see what's going on here. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful. If you guys have any feedback, or would like to leave me a comment, please do so. I would like to know what you guys want to see in the future, and if you guys want to see me make more tutorials like this, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.